Hi, welcome to the Jersey Joe Show. Today we are back in the kitchen. I am going to make today my famous crab cakes. I know some of you are saying, how many famous things does this guy have? Well, it's simple. I think everything I make is famous or will be famous. So you might want to subscribe and like the channel, and you can get all my latest recipes. So today we're making a very simple crab cake. One thing I hate about crab cakes when people make them is they put a lot of fluff. I don't like fluff. Crab cakes are meant to be crab. Problem is, people put a lot of breading in them. They put a lot of other junk in them. Mine are very simplistic, very basic. I have a couple of things that I do to make sure that everything turns out just the way I want it to and all the flavors meld. But we're going to go through that today. So what we got is we got some crab meat here that's already been cooked. Most of the crab meat that you're going to buy in the store in those cans, that's probably the best thing to go with. You can either use claw or lump. I prefer claw because it's just got more meatier there. Some people like lump, and lump is fine too. It really doesn't matter when you're making a crab cake. And then I have a vegetable blend. I got some onions in here. I got some celery in here and red pepper. And then basically we have our different seasonings. The star of this show is going to be Phil's Cajun seasoning because that's going to take the place. A lot of people like to put Old Bay in theirs. I don't put Old Bay. I'm going to go with Phil's Cajun seasoning there to make it give it that little Cajun twist. And outside of that, we're going to put some mustard in it, some mayo, a couple other spices we'll go over when we do it. And that's pretty much how I make my crab cakes. We'll use the breadcrumbs in the end very sparingly. But again, like I say, I want to focus on the meat here and not the breading. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to light this burner over here because what I want to do is I want to take my onions and my celery and my red pepper and I want to kind of just cook them down a little bit because you got to understand when you're making crab cakes, the crab's already cooked, right? So you're really just heating it in a sense outside of the egg. I do add egg to it, so you don't want raw egg in there. So you're going to be cooking up the egg too. But for the most part, I just want to kind of cook down some of my vegetables here just to get them so I know they're all going to meld together really well. And the cook time when we actually fry the crab cakes will be very minimum. So let's go ahead and get started. Get these peppers in here and these onions in here and get these brought down. Alrighty, so we'll just let these go ahead and cook down a little bit, and then we'll put them back in the bowl, and then we'll get them in the crab cake mix. Kind of just let them set there. If you want, you can also sprinkle on a little bit of this seasoning from Phil just to get us started here on that flavor profile that I'm looking for. The rest we'll put in when we're making it. So we'll just kind of let them sit. All right, so we got our onions going over there. I'm going to get some of this crab. Well, actually, I'm going to put the crab meat in later. Let's do this. Let's get 2 eggs in here. 1 egg, 2 egg. And what I'd like to do is I like to mix my eggs up a little bit before we even get going here. This makes it a little bit easier when you're trying to meld everything together there. So that looks right. Go ahead and we're going to put some mustard in here. Any kind of mustard. Some folks like to use a Dijon mustard. Some like to use a spicy horseradish mustard. I'm regular old mustard. Not a big deal for me. Give these onions a stir. Make sure they're going the way I want. Again, I'm not trying to cook the onions so they're translucent. I basically just want to get a little bit of softness, right? I want to soften down the pepper. I want to soften some of the celery and the onions. Right? Almost ready. So now let's move on to some mayo here. I know all you say, he never tells us the measurements. And I don't tell you the measurements because it depends. Everything's a little different. The way I cook is I'm looking at the texture. I know what texture I'm supposed to look like. So I'm going to say about a 1/2 cup of mayonnaise. We'll put that out of the way. We'll get in there more of Phil's seasoning there. Some coarse pepper. I like coarse grind pepper when you're making recipes like this. Worcestershire, a little bit in there. Looks good. Some oregano. Then we're just going to mix this up a little bit. And we're going to see how watery we are. And the watery content is going to determine, how much filler I'm going to put in there, right? So if I did this right and I got the right amount of mayo, I got the right amount of peppers and onions when I get them in there, it should be a lot tighter. And then we'll have to add a minimum amount of breadcrumbs just for some flavor. So this here looks really good to me. So that there's looking really good. That's the right color that I'm looking for here. So go back over here. My onions look good. These are ready to come in. So let's shut that down. We're going to add the onions, the peppers. All right, that looks good. Now we'll give this a little mix. That's exactly what I'm looking for right there. That is the money shot. It's got that nice yellowish hue. That's from the mustard. It's making it look good. That egg is integrated well. It's looking good. So now what we're going to do is add the crab meat. Now this is just 1 can of crab meat. So this recipe is going to get you one of those regular sized cans of crab meat. This will do you for that. So everything we're doing here is based on that measurement. So now we're going to go ahead and just kind of fold this around. I do not want to stir, because when you really get in and stir, you're going to break up that crab meat way too much, and we don't want that, right? We just want it to incorporate in with itself very nicely. But now, as you can see, we're a little watery. We're obviously way too loose to make an actual crab cake still. So now we get into adding the breadcrumbs. I don't give you an exact measurement for breadcrumbs because it depends each time. So a lot of this is just years of me doing this, and I have come up with this recipe. So it's, it's kind of like trial and error. So you start off with small amounts. You don't want to go too much breadcrumb because then it'll be too dry, and then you're going to have to add more mayonnaise, another egg, and then you end up with a lot of filler. So start off with about a half a cup or so of breadcrumbs and start to mix it around. It's probably going to be enough. We'll see. See, if you notice already, I put those breadcrumbs in there and it already started to stiffen up, which is exactly what we're looking for. My grandmother used to take some Italian bread, and she would actually cut up the Italian bread into tiny little chunks, and she would put that in instead of the breadcrumbs. But to me, that's just too much filler. I don't want all that filler. But the old school Italians, they would do everything they could to get rid of the used stuff, right? Or the old stuff, should I say. So, you got old bread laying around and it's going to go stale, or it already is stale. You can go ahead and break that up, cut it down, dice it up, put it in here, and that'll take the place of the breadcrumbs. I like the Italian panko breadcrumbs because they're already seasoned. So I'm looking at this now. It's starting to get a lot tighter, as you can see. It's looking pretty decent, but I want a little bit more because I want it to be just a little bit tighter. So we'll go ahead and we'll add just a little bit more. And it's okay if you put in too much. Just add some more mayo and that'll get it a little softer for you. You don't want a dry, crab cake. You want it to be moist. And that there, I think, was the best I could do because now it's looking really nice. So it's clumping up the way I want it to, so we're going to be ready in no time to make some crab cakes. So that's what I'm looking for there. You look at it, just get in there with your hands, give it a feel, see if you can make a ball. Made a ball. That's what we're looking for. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get this pot going, or this pan. I want to make sure Then I get this up to temperature before I put the crab cake on it. So you want to get it at least to a nice medium hot here on your burner. Go ahead and put some oil on there. You don't want to smoke it, but you got to get enough to get this oil hot because you're going to be cooking in the oil. And remember, olive oil has a lower smoke rate, so it don't take much to get olive oil too hot and smoke it. So you don't want to smoke it either. But I always put my fan on anyway just to make sure. And we're just going to let this heat up, and then we're going to start making these crab cakes. All right, so we're getting pretty good. We're getting a little bit of smoke out of here, so that means we're ready to go. I'm going to turn that heat down a little bit. I'm going to start making some crab cakes. Now, I like my crab cakes a medium size. So I kind of like make a little smaller than a baseball. I start off with a little ball, put it in round, get them going. You got to work fast because you will cook fast if not. They don't have to be perfect. They don't all have to be the same size. That's not what we're trying to do here. Have yourself a rag at all times for cleaning up your hands because you're going to be going in and out getting garbage. So now I'm going to push that crab cake down, shake it a little bit. And I push it down there to get that crab cake size that I'm looking for. So that's looking good. I'm probably going to flip them 3 times. We're going to see what I get, what I look like here on the bottom. So we'll do our first flip. That's the color we're looking for. As they cook, they will tighten up. Right now they're a little soft. But when you cook them, they obviously will tighten right up on you. Don't overload your pan. You know, try and go with 4 or 5. I wouldn't do any more than 5 in here, but I'm at 4, so I think that's pretty good. So next you want to get your paper towel ready and a little dish to put them on because you're going to want them to drain. That looks real nice, Clark. Real nice. Turn my heat up just a little bit. See, I'm listening for the frying sound, if that makes sense to you. And when it's a slower frying sound, that means that the heat is a little bit too low. I kind of wanted it a little medium here to try and get that right sound that I'm looking for, to know that they're cooking and not going to burn. When you're making crab cakes, you want to make sure that you have this pot really, or this pan really hot before you put your food in there, because the oil is going to absorb in if it's not hot enough. You want to almost sear the outside when you're putting it down. That's what it's all about. So I'm just going to give a little tap down on it. Go back in here. I'm going to flip it again. Looking nice. See, now I think you'll understand why I pre-cook that onion and pepper and all that, because in reality, if I put everything in there and it's raw, it's going to take a lot of heat to cook down those veggies. So that's why you want to pre-cook those veggies, because the meat's pre-cooked, right? So the only thing I'm really worried about is the egg, and I just got to get them up to good enough safe temperature for egg, and we're good. See what our temp is here. Be completely safe. You want to be above 140. Anywhere above 140 in the middle, you know you're good. But it's going to be hard to get there too, so you got to watch them. You don't want them to cook on one side too long. We're getting very close. We're at about 135 right now on these, so I'm happy with that. Remember to clean off your thermometer probe after you stick it in there. Yeah, that's brown and nice. Go just a little bit longer with that, maybe another half a minute or so, and they'll be ready to take off. And we're probably going to get 4 or 5 more out of this. So we'll take that off. Let that rest. Gotta let them rest. Now what I'd like to do is I clean out some of the burnt stuff that's in here, because all that's going to do is smoke and make a mess for you. So I kind of get that off of there. And I'm ready to go now and start making more. about 2 handfuls there. Kind of pack it down a little bit. Give it a little roll. Get it in there. Gotta work fast. Let's see, I'm looking at what I got left in here, so I'm gonna have to squeeze a little bit more in here. I'm gonna try to get one more in here, make them a little bigger, but that way I only have to do 2 sessions in this pot here. Looks good. Get this over, wash my hands real quick. All right, give them a little push. Be careful coming up. You only just want to shake it a little bit when you come back up so it doesn't stick on there. Shake, shake, shake. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Clean that off. They're cooking nice. Real nice. So what we're going to do before we plate these, we're going to make a little sauce that I like to make that I serve them with. It's a cold sauce. It works really good. I found that it works really good with seafood. It's almost like a ramenade sauce if you're familiar with that term. But it's mayonnaise, sour cream, some different seasonings that we'll go over. We do put some of Phil's seasoning in there. So we're going to mix that up, and obviously there's going to be some horseradish in there to give it a little bit of tang. And then what we'll do is we'll plate that, and you can plate it with, it's real nice to take some arugula and put it on the side and put like a balsamic reduction on it. That's really nice if you're like got company over and you want to plate these for everybody. You can basically plate these on top of the arugula salad, and then you can put the sauce that you make over top of that, or you can put it on the side. It's really however you want to do it. A couple more seconds. We'll go ahead and give them a turn. Looking real good. Real nice. We're done with that. Turn this off. We'll see you back on the other side, and we're going to go over how to plate these guys. Welcome back. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to we'll call it a ramenade sauce, right? For all intents and purposes, because that's really what it is. At least it's a play off of that, right? So what you want to do is you want equal parts mayonnaise to equal parts sour cream. So 1, 2, 3. Whoops. It's all right to taste it. That way you know it's good. All right. Get some sour cream. Again, equal parts. Paprika. Trying to go just enough. It's probably about a half a teaspoon or so of paprika. A couple of drops of lemon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's good enough. Grab yourself a fork and take out some horseradish. Don't give me the horseradish juice. I don't want it. I just want the horseradish nice and dry. 1, 2. Now what I'm going to do is take some of Phil's seasoning again. Get it up in there. Looks real nice. Let's get this mixed up. And again, this is my play on a ramenade sauce. It's got a nice pink hue to it. That's what the paprika does for you. And I like it. And listen, How do you know if you have it right unless you taste it? You have to taste it when you're cooking. But obviously don't taste it with the spoon you're mixing with. So get yourself a new spoon. Back side of the spoon. Perfect. Couldn't have done it better if I did it myself. I did do it. Huh. All right, just give it a little bit more mix. And we'll do that. All right, so I'm gonna plate this two different ways for you. So I'm gonna show you two different ways to plate. Now again, I don't have any arugula. I thought I did, but I don't. I got regular lettuce, but regular lettuce is fine. So what we'll do here is we're gonna take some lettuce and we'll put it here as a base. Get yourself a balsamic glaze reduction. Go ahead and just kind of back in just a little bit on there. Just to cover that. You'll see what I'm getting at in the end. Take your crab cake, put your crab cake on there. And now what you want to do is do your plate, because they're going to want something to drip it in, right? So I'm going to go like this. So that there is your crab cake with a balsamic reduction. Put yourself a pile just like that. And then what you're going to do is take the back side of your spoon, smear it. Just like that. Get yourself your pepper ready to go. Go ahead, place your crab cake right there. A little bit of pepper. Set that to the side. And then now you can put some lettuce over here. Put your balsamic reduction on here. This balsamic reduction is awesome. There you have it. That is how you plate. Remember what I said. People eat with their eyes. Okay, so when you plate this stuff, you want to plate it in a way that is very attractive. So when they look at that, they go, oh, wow, doesn't that look fancy? Does it taste that fancy? Trust me, it does. So, you know, you could also take it a step up, and you could also, I think on another podcast, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make basic. It's clams and linguine. So it's really tasty, and it's a good side to have with this. So it gives you that clams and a butter sauce, linguine on the side there. Then you have the crab cake as the main. But this is basically how it's done. This is going to please your guests, guaranteed, and you're going to look like a star. And it didn't even take that long to do, probably 15 minutes of prep work. It's really easy to do. You know, that's it. Remember to keep the faith, say a prayer, give thanks for everything that the good Lord gives you, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, as well as follow us on Facebook at Jersey Joe Congemi.